Welcome to The Explainer. You know, every single time you tap your card, check your balance, or open an account, you're stepping into this really complex legal world. So today, we're going to trace that exact legal journey you take with your bank right here in Singapore, from the very beginning to the end.
Yeah. Have you ever really stopped to think about it? What does your bank legally have to do for you? From that first dollar you deposit to maybe taking out a huge loan, there's a whole legal framework watching over that relationship. So let's follow that journey, starting right at square one, the moment you decide to open an account.
So, here we are, step one on our journey, opening that bank account. It seems like a simple bit of paperwork, right? Well, in the eyes of the law, that simple act is a huge deal. It's not just a formality. It's the exact moment a legally binding contract is created between you and your bank. And at the very heart of this whole thing is what the law calls the banker-customer relationship. It might sound a bit formal, but as soon as that account is open, this connection is officially recognized. And it's this relationship that sparks all the legal rights and duties that we're about to get into.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This contract is, well, it's special. You're not just storing your cash in a vault. You are actually lending your money to the bank. They can take it and use it for their own business, but they do it with one absolutely critical promise. They'll give it back to you the second you ask for it.
Okay, so that relationship is now official. The contract is in place. The law then says your bank has to make two fundamental promises to you. You can really think of these as the two pillars holding up all the trust you place in them.
And what are these big promises? First, there's the duty of care. That just means they have to be careful with your money and follow your instructions properly. Second is the duty of privacy, and this one is a huge deal, backed by Singapore's Banking Act, to keep your information completely confidential.
This duty of care isn't just some abstract idea. It affects you in the real world. It means your bank has to make sure your check is paid to the right person, not someone else. It means that when your fixed deposit is about to mature, they should probably give you a call and ask what you want to do. It's all about them actively and responsibly managing your account. Now, when we talk about privacy, the starting point in Singapore is incredibly strict. I mean, just look at this quote from Section 47 of the Banking Act. It essentially creates this powerful legal fortress around your data. The default position is simple: total confidentiality. Full stop. But, while that rule sounds absolute, it can't be. The law is practical. It recognizes that there are some very specific situations where a bank has to be able to share information. The Banking Act spells these exceptions out very clearly. The most obvious one, of course, is if you give them your written permission, but it also covers serious legal matters like bankruptcy cases, police investigations, or if they get a direct order from a court. And banks can also share info internally for important things like audits and managing risk.
And just to show you how seriously all of this is taken, the penalties for breaking these privacy rules are steep. A single bank officer who illegally leaks customer info can face a massive fine, up to $125,000, and even jail time. That's a pretty powerful incentive to keep things confidential.
Now, this is a really important point. Singapore's highest court has made it crystal clear. For banking privacy, the Banking Act is the only rulebook. This means all those older, more general rules from English common law, they don't apply here anymore. What we have is a clearer, more specific legal framework that's uniquely Singaporean. All right, our journey now takes a big turn towards something many of us will do in our lives: borrowing money. When a bank lends you a large sum of money, it needs a safety net. And in the world of finance, that safety net is called security.
So what is security? Well, it's a legal interest in an asset, like your house or your car, that you give to the bank. Think of it like this. You're giving the bank a spare set of keys to that asset. You get to keep living in the house, but they hold on to the keys until the loan is all paid off. If you can't pay, they get to use their key.
So let's look at the two most common ways this works for property. With a mortgage, you technically transfer the legal ownership of your property to the bank. But, and this is so important, you always keep a right called the equity of redemption. That's your absolute right to get ownership back once the debt is gone. A charge is different. With a charge, you keep ownership, but you give the bank the right to take and sell the property if you default on the loan.
And it's not just about property. Banks have other tools. There's a pledge, which is when they physically hold on to an asset, like jewelry in a pawn shop. A lien is the right to keep something they already have in their possession until a debt is paid. And then there's a guarantee, where you get a third party, another person or a company, to promise they'll pay up if you can't.
So, let's just zoom out for a second.
We've journeyed from that first simple contract all the way through the complexities of loans and security. What does all this legal machinery actually mean for Singapore's entire financial system?
Well, your own personal journey as a bank customer is really just a tiny snapshot of a much bigger system of trust. By having these really clear rules, these duties, the strict privacy, the secure lending, the law creates a system that's predictable, it's reliable, and that predictability builds confidence, and that confidence is the absolute lifeblood of a global financial hub. So the real takeaway here is seeing how all these legal pieces fit together perfectly. The duties, the rights, the protections, to build this entire ecosystem of trust. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. Is this carefully crafted balance between protecting our privacy and securing loans the ultimate secret to building financial trust, not just in a single bank, but in an entire system?